talked about the basic definition of an oral presentation, and then we shifted on to stages. We have talked about the first two stages, first one being the planning stage and the second one being the preparation stage. Now we'll discuss the third stage, that is presentation stage. According to me, this is the most important stage because majority of us mess it up when it comes to presentation part. There will be two basic components of this stage. One is the verbal component and other is body language. In the verbal component, I'll not be talking about what you should say because I believe that in the second stage, that is the preparation stage, must have compiled decent enough matter. So I'll be telling you what you should not say in the verbal component when it comes to the presentation part. Many times when we speak, we have a set matter, but when we actually deliver that matter, we add certain things to it. And those certain things are the ones which create a lot of problem. If I have to sum it up in one line, I'll say that in any kind of presentation, please do not use racist or sexist language. What is racist language? Adverse comments against a particular race can be called racist use of language. Adverse comments against blacks, for instance, racist use of language. According to me, even the word black should be avoided. What are the implications of it for a country like India? In a country like India, we should avoid making adverse comments against religious groups. We live in a secular country. We need to be very tolerant. We might be having even rigid opinion about something. Even if that is the case, a rigid opinion about the other religious group, we are not supposed to air that opinion. I can give you an example. This example is from a novel written by Shashi Tharoor. It is a third novel. Title is Riot. So in this novel, there is a Hindu fanatic, Hindu hardliner, who says Muslims are evil people. Violence against non-Muslims is in their blood. They only understand language of force. So adverse comments against a particular religious group. So if a Hindu hardliner says that Muslims are evil people, it is wrong. But at the same time, if a Muslim hardliner says that Hindus are kafirs, kafir is a non-believer. Again, it is objectionable, it is wrong. Any kind of adverse comment against a particular religious group, majority or minority, has to be avoided. This is one of the most important things. The second important point, sexist use of language should not be there. What is sexist use of language? Sexist use of language simply means adverse comments against women, right? So any kind of statement which says that women are inferior should be avoided. We can end up offending a lot of feminists in the crowd, and trust me, it's a bad thing to offend feminists. So I'll give you 3 examples. The first one is a very simple statement. The second one is a section of a poem. And third one is an Old English saying. So let's start. Or I'll start, I should say. First example. Women can't compete with men. Sexist use of language. Don't use it, please. I hope you don't actually believe it. My advice, even if you do, please don't air it. Please don't say this thing from stage. It's bad, wrong. Next, I'll quote from a poem. The poem has been written by Alfred Lord Tennyson. So, here we go. Man for the field, woman for the hearth. Man for the sword, and for the needle, she. Man with the head, woman with the heart. Man to command, woman to obey. All else, confusion. My question to you, are these sexist lines? Question number 2, can we say that Alfred Lord Tennyson was sexist? I'll give you the answer now. When these lines were written, these lines were not sexist because many people were actually not talking about feminism. Movement had started for sure, but it was not as strong as it was in 20th century and 21st century. So Alfred Lord Tennyson was basically talking about the accepted roles. Are these lines sexist today? Yes, they are. Because of this angle or perspective of feminism today, when we analyze the lines today, they become sexist. Can we say that Alfred Lord Tennyson was sexist? Certainly not. He was not sexist because he was talking about the accepted norms. With the changing paradigms of knowledge, the way we approach lines, the way we approach text, they change. But we cannot dub a particular writer as sexist or non-sexist on the basis of revised knowledge. Third example, an Old English saying. I'm sure many of you might not have listened to it. Not because you're not very well versed with English. The reason is pretty simple, that English is not our mother tongue. So the example goes like this. A dog, a wife, a walnut tree. The more you beat them, the better they be. It's an Old English saying, sexist use of language, and the line proves just one thing about even English society, that for a very long time women did not have equal rights like men in a pretty sophisticated, pretty open society of England. Coming back to oral presentation, any kind of sexist language should be avoided. Now I shift to the body language part. Of course, it's a very broad field. It possibly cannot be summed up in 2 or 3 heads, but still I'll try to make an effort. So I'll just be talking about it very briefly. Body language basically means how we communicate through the use of our body, how we sit, how we stand, how we look at people. So I'll just be talking about 2 or 3 things very quickly. The first one is smile. While giving a presentation, should we smile? Answer is yes. If we smile, what happens? When we smile, what happens? We come across as a very friendly person. And the first thing that happens then is that we get good feedback from our audience. Why? Because we're able to establish a rapport with audience. The second thing that happens, the speaker comes across as a very confident person. So everyone likes a confident person. The third thing, the moment a speaker smiles, he relaxes his vocal cords. And with relaxed vocal cords, chances are that he'll be able to speak well. But the precaution, you should not smile indiscriminately. When you have to smile depends upon the content. Because if you're discussing something which is very serious, for instance, 500 people lost lives in one of the terrorist attacks, and therein you start smiling, it's the end of the presentation, trust me. You'll come across as a very sadistic person. People are not going to like you. The next important thing, eye contact. Should you maintain eye contact? Certainly yes. The moment you maintain eye contact, you come across as a very confident person. Again, you can establish good rapport with the people, and establishing of rapport is extremely important. Why? Because as I stated earlier on, you get good feedback from people. Just imagine the situation. A student sitting in the class, teacher enters into the class, does not look towards any student, looks at the front wall, speaks for 1 full hour, and then goes away. Will he get any kind of feedback? What kind of environment will there be in the class? Will he be in control? Certainly not. So eye contact becomes very important. Next up, standing posture. Now many times we have this habit of putting our entire weight on one leg and stand, something that has to be avoided. Why? Because the speaker gives the message that he's very lethargic, very casual. You certainly don't want to come across as a lethargic person. Certainly you don't want to sound or look very casual. So you should stand with your weight distributed equally on both feet and then speak. The last thing that I'll be discussing today, many of us have this habit of standing with our shoulders bent forward, slouching shoulders. Should we do it? Again, the answer is in the negative. First couple of reasons I've already stated. So just quickly talk about those. If I stand in front of people with my shoulders bent forward, I come across A, a very lethargic person, B, very casual person. I do not want to give this message to my audience. And C, then the third reason, most important reason, when I stand with my shoulders bent forward, my breathing becomes shallow. And with shallow breathing, I cannot speak well for a long time. So if I stand straight with my spine straight, I can take deep breath, and with those deep breath, I will be able to speak well. I will be able to communicate well. So with these things, I wrap it up. I'm sure that you will be able to speak pretty well after listening to me. But the most important thing is that you have to practice. If you just listen to me and believe that you'll become wonderful presenters, it's not going to happen. Kindly keep on practicing. Stay home, stay safe.